Machiavelli's coldest rule. It's like the ultimate law of human nature for managing the alliances that keep draining you. He said, people will always be what their nature made them. And if you wait for their behavioral blueprint to change, you're just setting yourself up for strategic defeat. I know it sounds harsh. The first time I really thought about it, it felt like giving up. But that's not what it means. By the end of this, I think you'll feel what I feel, that it's not cold at all. It's the most protective intelligence you can carry. Let's start with why this rule feels cold in the first place. Because the reason matters more than the rule itself. From the time we were young, we were given a blueprint about people. The blueprint goes like this. If you invest enough, if you're patient enough, if you demonstrate your position clearly enough, if you extend enough strategic goodwill, they'll eventually change their behavioral pattern. They'll become the version of themselves you observed they were capable of being. It's a compelling blueprint, and it's responsible for more sustained strategic damage than almost any other belief most people operate from. Because what it does, what this blueprint actually produces in practice, is it turns your calculated patience into a waiting room. You sit in it, extending goodwill, recalibrating your approach, offering new terms to the alliance. And the person across from you keeps executing the same behavioral pattern. Not because they're adversarial, not because they don't value the dynamic, but because people are, at the deepest level, what their patterns have constructed them to be. Here's the law of human nature Machiavelli identified, that most people spend decades learning through damage. Character isn't a recalculation someone makes in response to your investment in them. It's a structure built over years, reinforced by repetition, shaped by everything that occurred before you arrived in the dynamic. Your belief in their potential doesn't rebuild that structure. Your patience doesn't alter the blueprint. And the person who keeps waiting for the structure to change is the one absorbing all the strategic cost while the structure remains exactly where it was. That isn't cooled. That's the intelligence that protects you. But here's where Machiavelli's rule becomes more precise. Because the coldest part isn't about other people at all. It's about what we do with what we've already observed. Think about the last time someone in your alliance structure disappointed you in a way that felt familiar. Not the first instance of the pattern, the third, the fifth, the moment where some part of your strategic intelligence, before it even occurred, had already calculated it was coming, and you registered the cost anyway. That pre-calculation, that pre-disappointment, is your observational system telling you something it has already processed. The behavioral pattern has been consistent, the data has been visible, and your intelligence has been reading it accurately the entire time. Machiavelli called this the most expensive form of strategic self-deception available. Not ignorance of someone's behavioral blueprint, but the sustained, deliberate refusal to act on data you already hold. Because acting on it is the harder move. Acting on it means accepting that the version of this person you've been observing as potential is not the operational version. That the dynamic you believed was achievable doesn't exist in the form you required. That you've been, in some calculated sense, investing in a projection of them that was always more yours than theirs. Machiavelli's strategic warning is simply this: observe the laws of power. Stop absorbing damage in the waiting room of a recalculation that's never going to happen on your timeline in response to your investment because of your patience. That isn't cynicism. That's the most disciplined form of strategic clarity available to a person who cares about the outcome of their own life. The third layer is where Machiavelli's rule stops feeling cold entirely, because it's not a mandate to close every alliance. It's something far more precise than that. Here is what Machiavelli did not mean. He did not mean that behavioral blueprints are permanently fixed. They are not. People recalibrate in real and significant ways across a lifetime, through consequence, through loss, through the slow accumulation of their own strategic reckoning. What he meant was more precise. Blueprints do not recalibrate on your timeline in response to your investment because you have made the terms of the dynamic clear enough. Recalibration, when it comes, emerges from inside them, from their own reckoning with their own patterns, not from the weight of your observation or the patience of your extended goodwill. And what that means operationally is that accepting someone's nature is not strategic withdrawal. It is accurate positioning. It is the decision to operate within the dynamic as it actually functions, rather than as you need it to function. To value their presence, if you value it at the level the alliance can genuinely sustain, rather than the level your projection has been demanding of it. Some alliances survive that recalibration. They become something more durable, more operationally honest, more real than the projected version was, because they are finally built on what is actually there. And some dynamics, you realize, were only viable in the projected version. And accepting that, letting the projection dissolve, is not the failure of the alliance. It is the honest assessment of what was always true about it. So what does this rule actually return to you in practice? It returns your strategic energy. Every unit of effort you have been directing toward recalibrating someone else's behavioral pattern, that is yours. It belongs to your direction, your output, your operational alliances. The moment you redirect it away from a recalibration that is not coming, it returns to you fully. It returns clarity about who is actually operating in your life, not who you have projected there, not who could be there if the blueprint just shifted. Who is there, consistently, without requiring sustained investment to become reliable. And it returns something Machiavelli valued above almost everything else, the ability to observe people as they are and respond to what is operational rather than what is projected. That capacity, that clear-eyed, disciplined, undeceived observation is not coldness. It is the most advanced form of strategic intelligence available to a person. He was not constructing a philosophy of detachment. He was identifying the exact mechanism by which capable people exhaust their strategic resources in dynamics that were never going to return the investment, and offering them the precise observation that ends the cycle. 4 things. One law underneath all of them. The rule feels cold because it contradicts the blueprint we were given about investment and patience and behavioral change. The hardest part is that we usually already hold the data, and the damage comes from the gap between observing and acting on it. Accepting someone's nature is not strategic withdrawal. It is accurate positioning within the dynamic as it actually operates. And what that returns to you is your energy, your clarity, and the capacity to observe and engage with people as they are, rather than as your projection needs them to be. Machiavelli wrote this from exile, from the direct experience of watching people he had invested in, served, and calculated alongside, make moves that had nothing to do with what he had given the alliance. He did not become adversarial, he became precise. And precision, the discipline to observe things as they are rather than as you need them to be, is not the end of your capacity to value people. It is the beginning of a version of that capacity that does not require you to be damaged by the same behavioral pattern indefinitely. There is a dynamic in your life you have been waiting on, size, maybe for a long time. A person whose behavioral pattern you have observed clearly enough to know what the next iteration looks like, but whose potential you have valued enough to keep extending the investment horizon. Machiavelli is not asking you to close the alliance. He is asking you to stop being strategically surprised by the pattern. To stop observing damage in the waiting room of a recalibration that may never come on your timeline in response to your investment because of the strategic goodwill you have extended. You can value someone's presence clearly. You can observe someone accurately. You can hold the possibility of who they might become without making that projection the condition for your own strategic stability. That is not cold. That is, finally being honest with yourself about what strategic investment actually costs, and deciding your output is worth more than the dynamic that keeps requiring you to wait for a return that does not come. Securely. One question. Which dynamic in your life have you been waiting on to recalibrate, and what does the waiting actually cost your strategic position? Key otter. You do not have to answer that out loud, but sit with it long enough to feel the honest answer. Drop clear in the comments if this gave you something you needed to hear today. I will be reading. Take care of yourself.